Hey, how are you guys? So today we're going to do some foam rolling for the hip flexors and the inner thighs and the glutes. I do this multiple times a week. I spend, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes a few times a week doing it. I just like put something on the TV or I pop a podcast in my ears and I just spend a good amount of time doing it. My hip flexors get really tight, and when they do, my lower back really hurts, and then my hips really hurt. I can't get into like proper squat form, deadlift form. My hip flexors start to take over in my ab work, and it's just really uncomfortable. So it causes me daily pain, and then I can't even do my like proper lifts. So it's become a staple for me. Like I'm filming this in the morning, so I haven't stretched out at all, and just sitting here with my hip flexors shortened right here is causing some pain in my lower back. So I feel it on a daily basis. So we're gonna do some foam rolling first because that helps break up the knots that get in the muscle, if you will, so that when we do some dynamic mobility stretches and work, we'll be able to stretch the full muscle with no knots or less knots. So I have two things here. I have a foam roller and I have just like a myofascial release ball, and I got them both on Amazon, which is where I recommend you get yours. So we're gonna start with foam rolling our hip flexors, which are the muscles that pretty much run from the top of the quad up and back into through our abdominals and then connect back here. So they actually run throughout your body. They just don't run to the front or run to the back. They run through your midsection. So there's a few different ways that we want to work and stretch and foam roll them. The first one is just simply laying your hip flexor on top of the foam roller like this. So I want to do as much or as little body weight that I can stand to have me start to feel like someone's digging into my muscles, like you're getting a really deep massage. This is something that you want to feel. It shouldn't be pleasant. It should be a little bit painful, maybe a lot painful depending on how tight you are. But it's like anything else, the more you do it, the better it feels and the looser you'll become and the less knots you'll have. So this side is really tight for me today. So I am gonna take my time. I like to search and destroy first, so I'll run up and down the muscle, feeling out for tight trigger points, and then when I have pretty much covered a lot of the muscle, which I'm doing with this foam roller, I'm gonna hold on one area that's really, really tight. And I'm just gonna breathe and I'm gonna hang out here. Sometimes I bring movement into it, so you can see I'm like lifting my leg up and down, but other times I just hold it, like right here. Huge knot, huge knot. Breathing is a must for these. The foam roller is going to be the least intense, depending on how firm your foam roller is, depending on if it has spikes on it or not. And then the ball, something that's smaller, is going to be more defined and will be more intense in getting into like the nooks and crannies of your muscles. Oh my God. So this video isn't going to be 20 minutes long, but I'm just going to show you some of the basics. So I'm going to go here all the way around to my side, even into my glute. I'm searching for trigger points. When I find one, I hold it. The mistake a lot of people make with foam rolling is they don't spend enough time what they're doing. So you're rolling around, you're making yourself in pain, and then you don't spend enough time to do it, so it doesn't actually have any effect. So you do want to take a good chunk of time to do this. I actually have started to look forward to it because I feel so much better. My body feels so much better and more open. So I'll rock back and forth, I'll rock forward and back, trying to steamroll my trigger points, steamroll the nuts out of me. I'm gonna come back here, I'm gonna go all the way down into the top of my quad. And then I'm gonna stop at a point where I feel it. So depending on how tight you are, you could be holding one position on one nut for 5+ minutes. It's not something that like immediately dissipates. You will feel it, is my best recommendation. Learn to feel what it feels like to have that knot just dissipate. So then it's super important to get the inner thigh too. So we're gonna start from the knee, from the top of the knee, and slide all the way up. Sussing out where the trigger points are all the way up into the groin. So I'm not getting any relief from this, I'm just showing you some of the points. I need to, after this video is done, I'm gonna spend some time doing this for myself because I need some extra time. And then I will flip over and I will do the top of my glute. So I'm still working the right side. So I'm working the top of my glute, I work the side, all the way down into the top of my hamstring. One of the keys here is you just want to roll on the muscles. You don't want to roll on the bones or on the joints. So I may roll around my knee, but I won't roll on my knee. And I may roll around my spine, but I won't roll on my spine. Another really good place to do is your lower back, but this doesn't work so well with the foam roller because the foam roller doesn't really get into the nooks and crannies of the back as much. So I recommend using something like a softball or a lacrosse ball. This is going to be a little bit painful because it has the spikes on it. So some kind of ball that you can use, and I'm going along the sides of my spine, not on my spine. I don't go too deep into my lower back. I go more like mid part of my back. So like here up, down here tends to get a little bit too close to organs, or there's just not enough muscle sometimes to protect, but you can feel that out for yourself. You'll know like, oh, this feels like I'm working my muscles versus, oh, this feels like not a good feeling. So I'll do that. I'll even come up here into my upper back. So I'm getting my traps, my shoulder blades. I'll move my arm around, bring some movement into it, kind of use the ball as one point, and then me moving my arm around is mimicking the massage and the movement. Oh, feels good. So like I was saying, with a smaller ball, you can put that in different areas. Like I can put it in my glute and get really deep in there. And then I can adjust how much body weight I'm resting on it. So that's really good. And then I like to use this for my hip flexor too, because the hip flexor is like in really deep in there, and sometimes the foam roller gets some of it but doesn't get all of it. So I would rest on top of the ball and allow it to get into the areas that are really uncomfortable. Also another thought is the hip flexor and the glute are opposing muscles. So when you squeeze your glutes, it allows your hip flexors to relax, which is why when you do glute work, you probably have less hip flexor pain, or your hip flexors relax, is because you're contracting your glutes, so it allows the opposing muscle to relax. So it works vice versa too. If your hip flexors are tight, your glutes are going to be relaxed and loose, which may not serve you, because if it's too much, then you don't know how to turn your glutes on and engage them. So that is a key thing that you want to start to bring to mind. Am I engaging my glutes? Are my hip flexors too tight to even do that? And when you are foam rolling, you want to squeeze your glutes so that your hip flexor can relax and you can get a little bit of a deeper work. You can get a little bit better work in with the foam roller or the ball. So that's the basics for foam rolling your hip flexors. I would spend as much time as you need, especially in the beginning, on doing this. If you do, you will notice how amazing it feels and how it impacts like not only your workouts, but how you feel on a daily basis. So that is my recommendation for that.